Knitting Cult Lady. I think we need to talk about it. As a cult survivor, I do follow her and I don't listen to every single video that she has and I don't read all of the comments. My information is very limited, but I am coming to you as a cult survivor to kind of explain it from my point of view. Currently, she is getting backlash for a video that she made about what to do with the people who are coming out of MAGA. And let's just establish that I believe that MAGA is a cult. So in this video, she said that you have a choice to accept them or not accept them. But if you don't accept them, they're either going to go back into the cult of MAGA, go into another cult, or potentially unalive themselves. These are facts I will not argue with, and it is valid. And facts do not care about your feelings. When you are coming out of a cult like MAGA, and I would equate IBLP and IFB as a similar open cult to MAGA, where the information that you received was controlled by the leaders or by your ideology. See, in IFB and IBLP, they encouraged us not to listen to secular news, secular TV, movies, music, any of that stuff, because it could poison us as Christians. It was evil. It was something that could lead us down the road to a distance relationship from God, and it could destroy our potential to be in God's graces when we get to heaven. They also said that we could be fake Christians and not real Christians, and then when we get to heaven, we could be told that I never knew you and now you're going to hell because we weren't real Christians. So there was eternal weight to us not getting the wrong information. Is it as serious as that in MAGA? Maybe not to that level of an eternal level, but in an existence in this world level, yes. So a lot of people are saying that the people in MAGA had a choice. They were adults. Now we also have to come to terms with the fact that a lot of these people are young people who in 2020 were isolated from their peers for a long period of time and were chronically online. 2020 was ripe for the picking for a lot of cults. We were in a world of vulnerability. Every single person on this earth was in a vulnerability that they have never experienced before and were faced with potential death, which is a key to cults grabbing people's attention and pulling them in. This was during his first term, so there were people that were already in it and believing in him, but there were also new people who joined at that point because of the state of the world. Do we, as people who are not part of MAGA, owe the people that were in MAGA acceptance? No, absolutely not. We do not need to accept them. That is not a requirement here. We are humans. We get to decide what we can handle and what we can't. And I don't think that's what she was saying, that you have to accept them. I watched the video. It was, you have a choice, but these are the consequences for your choices. Those are facts. But also, it's not your responsibility to help MAGA deconstruct either, right? That's not on us. But they were told that the left is evil, the left is wrong, the left is mean, the left wants you to die, the left wants you to not exist, just like they have responded to the left as saying, basically, they don't want the left to exist. It is two polar opposites of the same coin. So if we treat them as they don't deserve redemption, they don't deserve the ability to come out of that cult and learn and become new people, then they are going to be received as they were told they would be received, which can push them back into the cult, which can push them into another cult, which could potentially crumble their whole entire world because they are losing their community in MAGA and they have no community to go to. And we as humans crave community and cannot survive without it. Unless you're a really, 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 really introverted person and you just never want to talk to anybody ever and you can just exist on your own in your own little world. But that's not all of us. It seems like this is an emotional response to someone stating facts to me. Delivery everybody delivers information differently. And because of her autism, I think that does put off a lot of people to the way she delivers information. So do you just not like her because of her personality? Or do you think she's wrong because she's not really an expert? What does make someone an expert? Can personal experience make you an expert in something? She does have some degrees and she is pursuing a doctorate. I'm asking seriously, like, why isn't she an expert to you? And I say this because a lot of cult survivors do not have access to academia that others do. There are a lot of barriers and there are a lot of things that would take cult survivors a lot longer to achieve that goal than others that did not grow up in cults. So does academia gatekeep expertise? And if you don't have the right credentials, does that mean you can't be an expert in something? Are there things that are problematic with Knitting Cult Lady? I'm not sure, but I have heard a few things that I want to look into and get some more information. And I'm going to bring a conversation with me, my sister, and potentially someone from academia to kind of delve into this a little bit more. So be looking for that. It's going to be a while, maybe a couple of weeks, but it's going to come. Because I think that having the time to research and look into these things are super important before we just come up with a conclusion and call somebody problematic. One of the main themes that I am seeing in some of these response videos is the feeling that Knitting Cult Lady is trying to make you responsible for accepting MAGA into your fold. And I didn't get that out of her video. And I know everybody gets things differently, but that's not what I received. It was facts. And you have a choice what to do with those facts. She didn't say you were wrong for either. She just told you what the consequences were for your choices. And if you care about somebody that was in MAGA, you are risking one of those choices by not receiving them. But it's also not your responsibility, and you have a choice as a human to not engage. And you don't have to feel bad for that. And if something happens to them, they still made their choices. And it's not your fault if something happens to them where they go back into the cult or they, and I don't think she was trying to put fault on people for not accepting them, that they would be the cause. And maybe I read it wrong, maybe I heard it wrong, but I didn't get that out of that because I was a cult survivor and I understand it in a different light. I think people are missing, a part of the whole cult experience in an open cult. And like they had access to all of this stuff, but they didn't, because it was a mental and emotional separation that the leaders were, putting on them. The pressure from the peers in that group were putting on them to not listen to things that were contrary or to challenge their thinking. It was presented as evil and opposite and unacceptable, just like the way cults do. So to hold them accountable for accessing information that was there when they were in an open cult because they had the choice to do it or not, I think is just putting them in a box they were not in. Because I, as a cult survivor, chose not to look at things because I was afraid it was going to corrupt me and make me evil for listening to anything different. I think this is a lot more complicated than we can get into with a 10-minute video. And that's why I'm going to do a more in-depth deep dive onto this and put it on the podcast. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. If somebody has not told you today or ever, I am proud of you.